thank you so much for tuning in. Marty Henley is my guest. Marty, thank you so much for being on with us. You are speaking to us from West Virginia, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you. And I'm so glad how you and Michelle had a chance to meet. It was all through a swim up bar, right?
That's correct.
So take us back to that. It's just been about a month ago.
Yes, we went down there. My daughter had graduated from nurse anesthesia school and was doing a little girls celebration. And so I was at the swim up bar and started talking to this lovely lady and her husband and son, and it was Michelle.
Well, and so she has incredible energy. As she said, you had incredible energy. And how did the conversation ever start coming up about what you're going through?
Well, we were talking about just what we did for a living and why we were there and how long we had been at the Diamante, which we've been there quite a while. Mm-hmm. And she asked me what I did, and I asked her what she did, and she said she worked for you and that you did podcasts. And I said, "Oh, I could be on her podcast," jokingly. And she said, "Well, what do you qualify to be on a podcast for?"
What's your story?
Inoperable lung cancer.
And you told her what?
I said, "I have stage 4 inoperable lung cancer. Does that count?" She said, "Yeah."
Yes. And so we're going to tell that story. By the way, I absolutely love your shirt. And this is why I wanted to do a zoomed up version of us. Die, cancer, die. I've seen people wear shirts, Marty, that say, cancer picked the wrong person. You know, I'm kicking cancer's butt, all of that. So first of all, you're a survivor. You are a strong woman. Without you being in front of me, I can feel the energy of you. Take us back to 2020.
The whole thing started in probably November of 2019. I started getting hip pain, and I thought it was sciatic pain. And I dealt with that, and I was working 60, 70 hours a week, and I was trying to not slow down. I never slow down. I have a lot of boundless energy. And I was limping, and I thought, maybe I ought to go see a chiropractor. So we have a very close friend, and she saw me, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then one of the physicians in our operating room said, "Why don't you just come see me? We'll get an MRI of your back. Maybe you have a slip disc." So we did that. And he said, "No, it's just sciatica." And I went to a physical therapist, and then COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And my son lives in Aspen, Colorado, and we went out there skiing in February, and we were just killing it. Skiing did not hurt this pain. I don't know why. But we skied 21 miles in 5 hours. So the lift tickets count your runs. And I did fine at 12,500 feet. I was a little short of breath, but everybody was.
Right, exactly.
And so we got back, and I noticed slowly I was having trouble walking from the parking garage to my office. And I would get back and I would be out of breath. And I thought, oh my, I have COVID. So I called this 24/7 hotline that we have, and they said, "Oh, you better go get a chest x-ray." And when I saw the chest x-ray, I had a pleural effusion in my right lung up to here. And no wonder I couldn't breathe. It was, and in the minute I saw the x-ray, for some reason, this kid let me see the x-ray. I knew immediately what it was.
Did they know you had worked in the medical field?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think so. And they said to me, are you going to drive yourself home? You need to go to the emergency room. You need to get that lung drained. And I said, I have my 95-year-old father out in the car, mm-hmm. and I've got to get him home and tucked in, and then I'll get myself to the ER.
If you're just tuning in, once again, the Real Monica Adams Show, we're speaking with Marty Henley. You hear the dogs in the background. That's the real part of the show. She's in West Virginia. We're talking about how Michelle, who you know from our team, Michelle and Marty had met, and they strike up this conversation, and she talks about being on the show and stage 4 lung cancer survivor, and start to walk through the process of this. So, as you mentioned, going back into the fall of 2019, and then here we are coming into 2020. Rightfully so. A lot of people start to hear about COVID. You would have thought, well, maybe I'm having breathing problems like we're hearing on the news, and it's all we're hearing about. And then you progress, and then you go and you find out that you have this. Marty, what goes through your mind at that point?
Well, my mother died of lung cancer. So and her mother.
And her mother, yeah.
And we have a very strong family history, but they all smoked, and I tried to stay healthy. I maybe dabbled right out of high school, but I was considered still a non-smoker. Mm-hmm. And it was just shocking. And I could not tell my father because he already lost the love of his life. And I'm his only daughter. I have 2 brothers. And it was very, very difficult to tell my children and my husband. And I've got a phone call from my pulmonologist who did the thoracentesis. And he said, well, I've got good news and bad news. And I said, well, what's the good news? And he said, you don't have COVID. And the bad news is, he said, are you alone? I said, just spit it out. I said, just tell me. And he said, you have stage 4 inoperable lung cancer. And I was sort of shocked, not shocked, because I knew you don't get pleural fluid for nothing. But I said, how can you say it's stage 4 and how can you say it's inoperable?
Right.
And he said, because it's already in the cells or in the fluid. And, I would put people to sleep and wake them up and ship them off, and never really knew much about cancer or the follow-up.
Because as we said, in case you missed in the beginning, Marty was a nurse anesthetist for many years. How many years, my friend?
44.
44 years. Thank you, by the way, for everything that you did. But again, here you are as the healer, the protector. So many people came to you, and you obviously work with so many people that have been sick, but now here it is flipped upon you. And now you're the one that's going to have to be taken care of. Shock is usually what we always hear. Anytime anybody hears that C word, and it's them or it's someone that they love. And then you go through stages in your mind and in your whole, talk us through those stages.
Well, at first, obviously I knew I needed an oncologist. So I got a local oncologist, but we are the hospital that I worked at is the largest hospital in West Virginia, but we're still considered rural. We're a rural state. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have lung cancer specialists here.
Right.
And me knowing this through my background, I went and he had me actually sign up for chemo and immunotherapy. But in the meantime, he did a blood test called biomarker testing. Mm-hmm. And he said, we're going to send this off, but we're going to go ahead and proceed with this plan because this is pretty well advanced. And they also had me do, my hip pain was bone metastasis. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I needed a brain MRI because lung cancer normally spreads to brain bone. And so when I got my brain MRI back, I was just mortified. I had 4 brain tumors. They were small. And he said, first, we're going to radiate your hip. It's causing the most pain. I couldn't sleep or actually get comfortable. And 5 radiation treatments. It's called SBRT. It's more targeted treatment, high dose. 5 treatments. Not a problem, very easy to tolerate. Mm-hmm. That pain went away. It was just miraculous. And I was just tickled pink. And then they said, well, now we're going to radiate your brain tumors. So SBRT to the brain is a little different. They make a mask and it fits over your face. And I had actually anesthetized children for brain tumors for this. And I saw them lay the mesh over their face. It hardens. then they bolt your head to the table. So we had to anesthetize children because they couldn't tolerate that. And I just thought, oh, that's going to be me. And I'm so glad I've actually seen it and understand what it is. And so they were nice to me. They cut my eyes out and my nose and my mouth, but they had, it was like pushing in on my chin. And so I had that done. That was just 5 treatments. And I thought, if I just can't lay here versus having brain surgery, I can tolerate this. So I talked myself through it. I did a lot of praying and just tried to calm myself down. So that went fine. Those are gone now.
Awesome.
And I found out via my biomarker testing that I had EGFR lung cancer. And it's a certain mutation. So what they've done, lung cancer has just made absolute strides as far as being innovative. And they've learned that these tumors have biomarkers, which let you look at what mutation in the genetic code is, so they can target the medicine specific to the mutation. There are thousands of mutations and not all have treatments. Mine happened to be the most common type. So there was a actual pill, which I just was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked that I said, you're telling me that I can take a pill every day and that's it. And they said, yes.
And no chemotherapy.
No, I've not had chemotherapy yet. No.
Marty, let me ask you about that, because my husband, by the way, my husband's mom had lung cancer, same thing, never smoked, and struggled with it. And then it came back. And, I'm glad that Marty said this, because that's the same thing he said. He said, lung cancer then metastasized and went into the brain. And as you said, could go into the bones. But it's, what is out there, and what does chemotherapy do to the body? What does the radiation do to the body? And then you see, bouts and bouts of it that people go through. And some people are very against it. Some people say, I'm not doing it. I don't want to go through that. So when you were diagnosed with it, in your mind, looking at the treatment, knowing that it was inoperable, did you say, and obviously being 44 years as a nurse anesthetist and being in the medical field, seeing so many things, did you in your head think, this is how I want my treatment to go, and here's what I will not do?
No, actually, I was very open-minded. And at first I was very dismayed, because when I said to my oncologist, what should I eat? Like, I was I'm going to continue to exercise. I've always exercised.
Great.
But what should I eat? He said, and I tend to be slight of weight. And he said, just keep your weight up. And I said, you didn't answer my question. My question was, what should I eat? And he said, just keep your weight up. So that was a non-answer to me.
Sure.
And I was very frustrated, because at that time, COVID, everything was shut down. Yeah. Every visit I had was by myself. Every treatment I had was by myself, which didn't bother me, because I'm very comfortable in the healthcare setting. I did seek a second opinion immediately at Cleveland Clinic. And he confirmed what my oncologist said here, that I could take this pill. And he felt that radiation was the right move. So I got confirmation. I am an advocate for people getting second opinion, third opinion, however many opinions it takes, because you are the boss.
Absolutely.
You hire the physician. They don't hire you.
Amen. And it's so true. We say it a lot on this show. You have to be your own health advocate.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. You have to take care of yourself. Again, Marty Henley is my guest, and we're talking about her journey. And I want to talk about a video that you're in, and it talks about zip code, because you touched on it a little bit. Being in a rural area, socioeconomic status. If someone doesn't have the financial aspect, they don't have the care in their area, and then sometimes they're having to travel. But then it gets hard as they're going through treatments. Are they able to travel? All those things. We're going to discuss all of that when we return with Marty Henley. Everyone knows about Jody's balls, and why is that?
I have the best ball.
Oh, wait.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
Back. If you're just tuning in, it's the Real Monica Adams Show, the mobile version. And if you missed any part of the beginning, go back. Again, we're always on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you didn't know, we drop a new podcast every Thursday, and that's on all the audio podcast platforms. We take some of our absolute favorites and maybe you heard or maybe you missed. If you heard them already, it's like a resource to come back to. You can see Marty Henley is my guest, and we've been talking about her journey. Stage 4 inoperable lung cancer, metastatic. She also was in the medical field for 44 years. And again, we thanked her for what she's been doing. Not only that, I mean, you gave me your curriculum vitae, your resume. I loved. And I mean, woman, you're busy. I'm going to put my glasses on because I mean, what you have done and then the boards and how you're wanting to give back is what I really love as well. Paying it forward to others. So West Virginia, by the way, is what we said, Charleston Area Medical Center. And she said, my field of responsibility was in the management of the Department of Anesthesia, including financial management, supervision of over 100 professional CRNAs and 15 other non-professional employees, recruitment, retention, policy, procedural oversight. But she also served as the clinical director of the School of Nurse Anesthesia and promoted the clinical education of their nurse anesthesia students and maintained a positive, it's all about positivity, right? Positive collaborative environment between the staff and the general services, their contracted physician anesthesia group, and oversaw the implementation of the electronic anesthesia record. And then it goes on, folks. Look, it goes on and on and on and on and on. It's 4 pages of it. What are you most proud of in what you've done and the boards you've been on?
I think that obviously putting our department back together, we were 36 positions short when I took the job, and we were able to rectify that within 3 years. And it's hard. You just can't get anybody off the street to do that. You have to be able to recruit. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to recruit to West Virginia. I think the thing I'm most proud of is being on the medical executive committee and being the first APP, advanced practice practitioner, to have voting rights. And the history of our hospital's organization, and it's been around a long time. So that was good. And I had to drop out in the middle of it with my cancer diagnosis.
Sure.
When I got my diagnosis, I just thought, this is God talking to me. It would take a crane to get me out of here, and a crane it was. And so I walked away from it all.
And obviously very hard. Probably, besides the fact that the physical side, you have to take care of you. You're the most important person, first and foremost, in your own health. And then when something like cancer is working against you, you've got to do everything that you can. You mentioned when we were emailing back and forth that you are going to be here on this earth until they find a cure, or you will do everything you possibly can to do what you need to do to be your own health advocate, to be able to take care of your body. Go in a little bit deeper on that.
One of the first things that I did, because I was very frustrated about the resources available in our zip code and the time of COVID, which really complicated matters greatly.
Sure.
Is I found online a holistic cancer coach, which I had to pay for. It was not cheap, but it was the best thing I think I've ever done for myself.
Beautiful.
And her name is Leslie Nance. She has a company called Any Stage Cancer, and she's revolutionized my thought process. I thought I was going to get nutrition counseling. Mm-hmm. That's what I was after. And she did mindset work
Yes.
and just relayed some very invaluable thoughts for me and planted them in my brain. She made my own personal meditation for me. And she said to me, before you had cancer, did you know when you were going to die? And I said, no. She said, so what's different? Do you know when you're going to die now?
Beautiful.
I said, no way.
What's her name again?
Her name is Leslie Nance.
Yes. So what Leslie is doing, Marty, is so impactful and powerful, and it's the one common thread that will pull all of us together, because anything anybody's suffering from, we're talking about the physicality aspect for you and cancer. As your shirt says, though, die cancer dies, as we said before, picking the wrong person. You're not just going to give up. This is a diagnosis, but it doesn't have me. I'm going to do everything I can. But then many times, you're going through the triangle of life that we talk about, which is the mental side, the physical side, the spiritual or the emotional side, and how you have to balance all that out. Leslie helping you and helping others do that is so powerful, because your mind and your spirit will give up when you start to go through the emotions of, why me? Why me? Why does this have to happen to me? So how did she go deeper with you on taking care of these two things as opposed to just the body?
She actually has tools that she works with. So I had to write a cancer declaration, which is right here on my wall. And I'm supposed to read it every day. And she also gives you tools for coping. So when you start going down that spiral, or you have scan anxiety, which I get scanned every 3 months, and it can change the trajectory of me not being able to take my pill every day and having to move either to some sort of clinical trial or chemotherapy. And she gives you those tools to talk you off the cliff. Mm-hmm. Also, she's very adamant about, obviously, body, mind, exercise, eating correctly, taking care of yourself. And she said, live the life you're fighting for.
Yeah. Yeah. How beautiful. She sounds like a person I want to have on the show. I love how these things branch out.
You would love her.
I would. You have to connect us. I would love to have her on, because she speaks my language. It's the mission that we're trying to do to this world. So let's talk a little bit more about the zip code aspect, because that video was very profound that I watched. And it is so very true, because, we even watch in movies, and you've got, these kids that are diagnosed with something, and then they're told to be taken states away to a hospital where better care is. And parents think about it and think, well, okay, well, we might be able to do that in the beginning, but how can we keep going back and forth? Or many times they have to actually get an apartment, and then they're looking at, where's the money going to come from? And it takes its toll, doesn't it? It takes its toll on someone. So let's talk about that video. How did that all come about?
I was contacted. Actually, I joined Longevity Foundation, and it's a dynamic organization that works on patient education. And I advocate for everyone who gets a cancer diagnosis to educate yourself.
Yes.
You are your own best advocate, but you have to have the knowledge behind it. And so I joined Longevity, and through Longevity, they hook up a lot of people to projects or interviews or different research things. So they contacted me. Little did I know they were going to come to my house. Little did I know they were going to bring 30 people with them.
Wow.
And yes, it was quite the production. And we were talking about biomarker testing and zip codes. And zip codes, really, if you live in rural America, and we do not, the closest cancer center is maybe 3 hours away. Large integrated cancer center with many specialists and lots of research. So, and I'm not dissing, our cancer center does a fine job, but to have the level of care that I know that I needed at the time required me to travel. Well, thank heavens to COVID. It allowed video visits.
Yes.
what a blessing. I could go to my center, get my scans, get my records, send them off, and I could have a face-to-face visit like I am with you right now. And we can talk. And if they need to see me, then I can go there, or we can just counsel over video.
Yes.
You know, that has been shut down a lot. Now the rule is the physician must have a license in the state that he is doing counseling with the patient, unfortunately. And I would love to, I'm trying to advocate for that to change, because it needs to change.
Absolutely. Well, I was just going to say, everybody thinks about, going through 2020 to 2023 and even parts of it still existing. But it's an easy way to automatically think of the negative side. You just mentioned the positive side. There's a lot of positive things that came out of it. A lot of it has to do with the communication, the teledoc, the telenurse, being able to be in front of someone when they can't. And I thought it was a convenience factor. I'm surprised that wouldn't continue on. To me, that was a breakthrough.
Yes. And I don't know why they shut it down. Honestly, it's billable. So I don't understand. I can still do televisits with Cleveland Clinic, but I then went and got a third opinion at Dana-Farber Cancer Center, because I found the preeminent EGFR expert in the world. And I thought, well, why not? Yeah. So my first visit with him was a televisit. And the second visit, I had to go to Boston.
Okay. So let's talk about, let me reintroduce my guest for a second. Marty Henley. We're talking about her journey, survivorship. Again, stage 4 lung cancer, inoperable, she's told, metastatic, she's told. Now we're talking about going through treatments. We're talking about traveling. All of you, by the way, if you're going through cancer, you know someone that is. Obviously, everything that you ever hear on this show, I always want you to check with your own physician. Marty said it best, which is to, just really be more present and focus on you. If something feels wrong, reach out and maybe ask for a second opinion, a third opinion. Keep doing that until you say, yes, this one feels right. And then you have your team of experts. So how difficult, Marty, is it as you first are diagnosed, then you're going through your treatments, to then have to tack on travel to that?
Travel was expensive, but I felt like it was worth it. And luckily I can afford it. Not everybody can afford it.
Exactly.
And so that's why I think we need advocacy for, telehealth. It's so important. And why should my cancer center is 10 minutes from my house. Mm-hmm. Why should I have to, unless he physically needs me present, I have scans. I could have a video visit with my own doctor from the comfort of my own home. Mm-hmm. Now, that means you have to have the equipment. That means you have to have the internet capability, which some people can't afford either. Right. So now what they've done here in West Virginia is they've set up mobile places where people can go in their own community and then do telehealth from there.
Okay.
So I think that's an important compromise for those who cannot afford that.
Sure.
But also cannot afford to drive. I mean, some people are driving 3 hours to our cancer center just to have radiation therapy or chemotherapy.
Which, Marty, just blows my mind because of the toll that your body is taking and what's happening to the cancer alone, then the treatments and, and then if somebody doesn't have somebody to actually take them. I mean, it's that part, but when you're diagnosed with cancer, you're going to do whatever you can. You're going to go wherever you can go because you want to live. You want your years here to be fulfilled. One of the things I want to talk about, we're going to take another quick break. You talked a little bit about telling your father. And again, what a journey you've all been on, to lose your mom, to have her lose her mom to lung cancer. And then here you are having to tell your father, who you are a caregiver for, right?
Yes.
95 years old, her father. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about her journey and where she is right now and the importance of keeping your body healthy. And she's doing just that. More with Marty when we return. And if you are looking for something to truly just make you glow like I was glowing last week, I want you to go and see my friends at Elemental Aesthetics. They're located off North New Ballas, that 425 building. Again, so many levels of things that they can do for you there. I went in and had a facial that had to do with more oxygen as well as dermaplaning. And I tell you all the time that your makeup never will look as good as it does until you have dermaplaning done. It truly is just beautiful. One of the things that Jennifer Warman-Bloss prides herself on is having the top of the top when it comes to different lasers, different types of therapies and things that she can do, not just with your face, but they also do weight loss, whether it's medical grade or non-medical in the consultation. And right there are the chairs for IV hydration therapy. I can't wait to go in again. And I've already been told by some of you that you've made your appointments, which I love. Again, support those that support us. Welcome back. It is the Real Monica Adams show. And I just took my glasses off because I had to read deeply into her background because she's done so much. If you're just tuned in, I've got her zoomed in again because I want you to look at that shirt. Die, cancer, die. Absolutely. You're not going to take this one. This one's a strong survivor. You have to break the news, Marty, to your father. And I see that in that video. 95 years old. You are his caregiver. That's a very emotional time to have to tell him that after he had already lost his wife to lung cancer. So take us through that day.
That was terrible. I knew I had to tell him. I knew I couldn't keep it a secret. When I came back from that thoracentesis, I had to go to the emergency room and I had to explain to him why. And I said, well, they want to run another test. I was trying to be very vague. And I need to go. And I don't know if I have to spend the night, which I didn't. They just sent me home. And after I got the diagnosis, he said, well, what happened? And I said, well, they're going to look at this fluid and then talk to me about it later, whenever they get the results back. And that was a pathology report. And when I got the results, I told Rudy and then my husband, and I said, oh, well, I have to tell my father. I can't tiptoe around him. He was living with us at the time due to COVID. And it was very heartfelt. I cried, he cried.
Sure.
And, knowing that my mother was diagnosed at stage 2 and I'm stage 4B. And I said, is there a C? And they said, no, not really.
I don't want any more of the alphabet.
There's not another one. But, I think because I've done so well, I think he's totally relieved.
Well, and so when your mom was diagnosed, how long did she suffer?
She suffered for 3 years, but my mother was a smoker, heavy smoker, and that was just the era they grew up in. Yep. I grew up breathing secondhand smoke. But when you think about it, lung cancer is the only cancer where people blame you for getting the disease. Yeah. And people find out I have it and they'll say, well, did you smoke?
Right. It's the first question, isn't it?
It just rattles my soul. Yep. Because we're now having an epidemic of young, healthy women getting lung cancer. I think women must be more susceptible due to environmental factors. Mm-hmm. And
what we're breathing in on a daily basis and what's out there and accepted in the world.
Right. And I have nothing against advocacy for other types of cancer, but lung cancer is the most underfunded cancer that affects more people die of lung cancer than any other cancer in the world. Mm-hmm. And it affects more people than any other cancer in the world, but it's the most underfunded.
And I think if you dig deep, and I want you to do your research for women, you mentioned earlier, a lot of times when someone hears a woman is stricken with lung cancer, right away they're like, oh, that's a death sentence. That's what they always say for women. And that's exactly. And that's why I wanted you to.
There's hope.
There's hope. And that's the word I wanted Marty to say, because there is hope. I don't want you to just give up, but you have to do what you need to do. For you right away were like, well, I've always exercised. I love the fact that you asked it earlier And I want to bring it back up because you asked the doctor, well, what should I eat? Well, just keep your weight up. I know, but I'm asking you, what should I eat? Keep your weight up. But you're not giving me direction. So go into that deeper, because the importance of what we're putting in our body, because we can make ourselves sick, and sugar is not a good thing. It feeds the cancer. So what did you go? What are you following as far as what you're eating?
Well, I've modified that. At first, I was very, she does a plant-based diet, and also had like a mineral broth recipe for people going through chemo to help nourish their bodies when they don't feel like eating. The importance of exercise, but I've kind of backed off on that diet. But I do not eat. I eat a little bit of sugar now. I don't eat a lot. I never did anyway.
Good.
And I just try to eat a very healthy diet. I go more obviously to organic foods, because the key is reduce your toxins.
Yes.
Reduce your toxin load. We got water purifiers for our house. We had a big, whatever the chemical MCM is, we had a huge leak that went into our water in Charleston, and our water started smelling like licorice.
Oh, wow.
And I have no idea how long that happened. That was probably 5 years ago. And so I thought, okay, we're just going to do everything. Radon is another huge cause of lung cancer. And you can't smell it. It's a gas. It's in your house. And we did have a little bit of radon. And I said, we're getting it mitigated. So we hired a radon specialist. He came in, he inserted this fan that pulls the radon out up into the atmosphere. So there are radon belts in the U.S., of which West Virginia is in one.
Well, my question to you, because we talked about you being in a more rural area, when people buy homes here, or at least I know when I bought my home, that was one of the inspections we had to have, depending on the age of the home. Is that a necessity where you are?
Obviously not. We didn't have it done. But I've lived, like through college and all that time. Yeah. You live in these places that are not as nice as maybe what you grew up in your parents' house. And who knows how much exposure anybody might have had in their past.
Sure. Let's talk about this, because we haven't even addressed this yet. But you, when you're diagnosed, you had no symptoms.
None.
So a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, well, if it got to stage 4, did she dismiss a symptom? What happened? How does it get to that point? You had none.
None. A lot of cancers are like that. It's, lung cancer isn't the only one, and people are just taken off their feet because you get this news that it's so advanced, and like, how did I not know?
Right.
How did I not know? So
that's the part that fascinates me. And it's like, obviously you don't want it to get to that advanced stage, but what would we be looking for? What would we have missed? What was going on? I mean, you had nothing, no inkling whatsoever.
No. I did notice, the weird thing I did notice was that when I would yawn, it would catch. And I didn't understand that, but I didn't think a lot about, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. And I would have never thought that left sciatic pain would have had anything to do with my lungs.
Right.
I do realize that I think I had weak lungs growing up. I had pneumonia frequently, but it could have dealt with the fact that I grew up in Steel Mill Valley near Pittsburgh. And also I ran. I was a big distance runner. And so I would run in Steel Valley, and then I came to Charleston and ran in Chemical Valley. So I always had, somebody said to me once, for a healthy person, you sure are sick a lot. And I would frequently get colds. And I think that, all women get tested for breast cancer, but you have to advocate for yourself for lung cancer. Only if you are a smoker with a certain pack year history can you have a low dose CT. But if you have a family history, even though they say it's not genetic, that you should advocate for your own testing and push for your own testing.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of testing. I think, you see all these shows done, or you see these commercials where there's PSAs, ask your doctor to do this test, but then people forget what they saw. And then they're like, and they don't know how to pronounce it. And then they're like, I don't know what I should be asking for. In their minds and in their hearts, it's, why is this not being done? Why are these tests not being done? Did you just say that lung cancer is not genetic?
A very 0.1%.
Wow. And your mother and her mother, and then you.
And her mother's sister and her mother's sister's son.
Are you serious?
So, yes.
Wow.
And it just really, I didn't understand. It's hard for my little medical mind to understand the fact that it can't be genetic. But there probably, in my mind, since I had this gene mutation, a weakness or a proclivity to pick this up, or me maybe being exposed to radon in the past, or being exposed to cigarettes or bad environments, maybe had something to do with the development of this. And they're finding that women their lungs or their genetic code must be more sensitive to pick up lung cancer. The groups that I belong to, which I highly recommend, I don't recommend anybody go out on the internet and just ask the questions.
Stop WebMDing.
Stop it. but every type of cancer has a national organization that works to educate patients, that works to have Zoom groups where you can share your journey and you can actually talk to somebody who's walking what you're walking through. Yeah. And it's so important, I think, to know and share and grow. We now have a chat group of women that met on longevity, and we've been together. I've met one of them up at Dana-Farber. She was in a clinical trial, so I ran down a flight of steps to see her. But they're just so important to me and are helpful.
Well, and I'm so glad that you said that, because no one should ever feel alone in this journey that you're getting ready. That's so foreign, that you didn't sign up for, you didn't ask for, but now it's got you, but it's not got you. It doesn't have a hold of you. You're going to be your advocate, and then you need a support system, and you need people to say, I understand. I'm going through this as well. Other people can be there for you, but it's not the same level of, you don't understand what I'm going through, though. Let's talk about your journey, where you are right now.
Well, I recently had radiation right before I went to Cabo to my lung. I had progression.
Okay.
So right now my brain is clear. My bones are clear. Everything else is clear. No lymph nodes, but they found a new tumor below my old lung tumor. Okay. And it's all kind of defined in my right lower lobe. So they, after going to Boston, because I wanted the top opinion in the world, what would you do? I felt like anytime there's a change, you need additional biomarker testing. It can be done via a blood test or a tissue biopsy, which is actually the gold standard. So the question at hand was, should I get a tissue biopsy to see if I have a new mutation? Because there are other drugs that you can switch to, targeted drugs that are just pills, that you can switch to and stop the new growth that has worked around the treatment. And so I think after much discussion back and forth between Dana-Farber and Cleveland Clinic and my physician here, we all decided that radiation was the best path. So I had 15 radiation treatments, exercised through the whole thing. And they said, are you kidding me? And I said, well, why not? I said, why not? I have to go slower.
I was just going to get into your exercising and how it's had to shift a little bit.
Yes, I have to, I'll do a little cardio and then I have to catch my breath and then I do really HIIT exercises. So I just walk in between until I catch my breath and then I go on to the next one. But it's worked well for me. I feel great. And
how many days a week do you work out?
I work out 3, but I usually walk. I work out hard 3 days a week, but I don't sit still.
That's right. I'm telling you, cancer picked the wrong woman here.
They sure did.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's on this journey and she's going to continue to be on the journey. But I hope the message that you hear is that she is being her own advocate and she's not just going to sit down and let it take over her life. I know that so many of you are going through this right now, or you have a loved one that's going through this, a coworker. Again, the word cancer, as soon as you hear it, people have an aversion to it because you go right there in your mind of either you going through it and you're a survivor, someone that you know having treatments, and like Marty, she's going through the treatments right now, or you know someone that you lost and you just go through so many emotions of it. But you've got to keep your mind strong, your spirit strong, and then you have to find that support system around you. I think that is one of the most impactful and one of the most powerful things. You don't ever do it alone. So what are the doctors saying for you right now, Marty?
I have to have a PET scan next month, and as long as everything's stable, I'll just stay on my targeted pill until they said you don't get any brownie points for going off early. So this is considered my first line of treatment. And so I know some cancer patients who are on their 6th, 7th line of treatment, but I also know cancer patients who've been alive for 15 years.
Yep.
And everybody's different. You cannot compare your journey to anyone else's. Everybody's cancer acts differently. Everybody has a different mutation. What I try to do now is when I find out that somebody's been diagnosed either in our valley here, reach out and say, how can I help you? How can I support you? I have a dear friend that I grew up with in Ohio, 1 block from me. She was just diagnosed with lung cancer, and I've been helping her with her journey about, I said, you need to fire that guy. Well, because he made light of biomarker testing. I said, it is the standard of care. It is standard of care. And so you do have to be your own advocate, educate yourself.
Yes.
Take good care of yourself.
Well, and one of the reasons I wanted Marty to come on is to, again, she's speaking firsthand of what she's been through. And I want her to have dropped some tools for you of what you're going through. If you right now are also like her and you're going through any form of cancer, or, you've just been diagnosed and it's brand new to you, that you look at things that she and I are talking about. You hear them, you receive the message, and then you ask the questions to your doctor. Don't let them dismiss something that you believe in. But I also thought you brought up a really good point earlier, in case you missed it, that please stay off the internet and try to get away from WebMD and everything that you're trying to diagnose, because it will really dampen your spirits. It will take you through this rabbit hole of a darkness, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, this is going to happen to me. No, you got to live like you are doing. You're living, truly living, Marty, in the moment, and you're not letting it slow you down. Doctors might say, well, don't work out. Well, I want to work out. That feeds your spirit. That feeds you mentally. And you're doing everything you can, eating properly, traveling, going to Cabo San Lucas. Were they okay with you traveling?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I told them, I said, whatever we do with the radiation, we're working around my trip to Cabo.
How often do you go?
We usually go once or twice a year.
Once or twice a year.
And we're going to Italy in November.
Wow. This
is our pre-COVID, pre-diagnosis trip that got canceled. So
good for you.
We're back on.
How long will we be in Italy?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Have you been?
No. And my family's from there. So
what part? We want to go also. We're talking about wanting to go next year. My husband's mother's side is Italian. And so she's from the Sicily area.
Okay. We're north of Venice.
Okay.
So
what a beautiful trip for, I can't wait. It's on my bucket list. I'm so glad that you are marking it off your bucket list. What's been your favorite place to travel?
Well, I don't know. I like to go everywhere. My daughter lives in Maui. So we were in Maui. We were in Lahaina in February.
I was just going to start with that before we wrapped up with you. So your daughter is fine after everything that's taken place in Maui. So you've talked with her a lot. What is she saying about the area?
She just said that everybody has gone through a lot of mental trauma, that she knows people that have lost absolutely everything. And, the loss of life and not knowing. And now the economy, they've said, stay away. People are staying away. Some tourists are going and they are really obnoxious and not being very thoughtful about what people have been through. And so it's tough there. It's tough. I can understand how local Hawaiians feel that they're getting priced out of being able to live there. Yeah. My daughter's struggled since she got there. It's a very expensive place to live in the world.
Well, I also saw something on the news that people are coming, and I mean, everyone is a victim right now, and they're trying to find their way again. And there's still thousands that are missing, and that hardship that people are going through. And then you have these people that are coming and trying to buy their property. That made me sick to my stomach.
Right.
Yeah, it's devastating. Is there anything that she says that we can do when we're hearing about what they're going through? What's the best thing we can do?
Well, I heard something online the other day that talked about if you can donate directly to the people who have lost everything. Insurance companies take forever. So I asked my daughter, Sarah, I said, who do you know that could benefit? And we've actually Venmo'd her money, and she's Venmo'd individual people who have lost it all. And that money can help them get through the next day, the next month. They can, buy what they need. I mean, they don't even have a vehicle anymore. It's just unbelievable. But all those people who have lost everything are helping one another. Yeah. It's such a great spirit of lifting each other up and being together.
Well, and Marty, that's what this show has always been about, is get out of your own way, see what's going on around you, offer up a hand wherever we can. If you're healthy, you're blessed, we'll realize that's a wonderful thing, because our lives are like this. As Marty just told you, here she is going along okay. And then 2019, 2020 happens. And now this is her journey. And this is who she is. And this is how she's giving back to spread along to you the information that you need. But then all these things happen. These devastating things happen in Hawaii. We've talked about the hurricanes that have happened in Cabo. I remember Odile that happened in 2014, I believe. And then it's in your heart to say, oh my gosh, I want to go there. I want to help them. Because that's what they need. It's not, let's just stop. They need the tourism again. They need to rebuild and any way that we can help. But I think that's a good point. Instead of just giving to one organization and you wonder, well, where's it going to go? How's it going to help? Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to take one final break. And the way we always end the show is teaching each and every one of you the importance of knowing your value. This woman, a very valuable woman that is sharing this story of hers. And I thank you so much for doing just that. Take one quick break and we'll wrap up with Marty when we return.
Come on, Monica. Let's go, St. Louis. Turn and burn.
Hello, Miss Monica.
Hey, Monica.
This is a good one. Sometimes you spend like 10 years and you don't got one like this.
Hey, Monica.
It's a feast. It's like a 17-course meal. You're just like, you need a minute. With wine. With a wine pairing. And a whiskey pairing.
That is what. There it is.
I think I just had the most beautiful experience. I saw fireworks.
Thank you, Monica, for making our day.
Welcome back, and we're wrapping up the Real Monica Adams show. So Marty, thank you again so much for being a part of today's show. One of the things we always teach is the importance of your value, knowing your value in every aspect of life and how important you are to this world. We've been reading from the Blueprint for Value, the 52 habits to discover and strengthen your personal worth. And one of them, she actually talked about earlier, right? Environment and what happens in our environment, being more present. What are we breathing in? All these things. So kind of ironic that that's the one that shows itself today. The places you live, work, and play affect your thinking. When your basic day-to-day life activities are a struggle, you drain your resources and you begin the race 100 meters behind the starting line. Living and working in an organized environment free of distractions can send subtle messages that you are valuable and that you're worth taking care of. And as you begin to function with greater clarity and more efficiency, your personal worth account will increase. There will always be something to clean. There will always be obstacles to overcome and less time to work. However, you can take steps to reduce the clutter, remove the obstacles, or change your location. So the takeaway, clean up. Show yourself that you're worthy of a clean environment, worthy of a little TLC, and worthy of starting at the starting line. How interesting that that's the one that shows itself today when you said you used to be a runner and you know all about those starting lines.
Yes.
Marty, what final message would you like to get out as we wrap up?
Well, I think being your own advocate for your disease, whatever your disease is, you have the strength. Educate yourself. Be knowledgeable. Find a way to give back. I went to Haiti for years, and it really allows you to live with the attitude of gratitude that no matter what my circumstances, there are people out there that really are not doing as well as I am.
Right.
And I have to be grateful for that. And I have to show my gratitude by giving back, even through this cancer journey.
Yeah.
We shouldn't ever stop.
Well, you're not stopping. I know that. You're like an Energizer bunny. I hope I get a chance. Maybe we can
There is
coordinate.
hope.
Yeah,
There
there
is
is hope. Always. You used that word earlier, and I'm so glad that it came back. We're talking about having me come with Michelle to their location next year. So maybe we can coordinate our schedules that I'll get a chance to meet you in person.
That'd be fun.
I would love it. Thank you so very much for sharing your story. And yes, please get with me. And I'd love to feature Leslie. She sounds like an incredible human being.
She sure is.
Thank you, Marty. Healing energy to you. And we'll be following your journey.
Okay.
Thank you so very much. And to all of you, thank you each and every day for tuning in. Again, whatever journey you're on right now, talk with your doctors, be your own advocate, and take care of you because you do matter. God bless you all. Remember, I tell you all the time, in this world where you can be anything, get out of your own way. And first and foremost, be kind. God bless you all. Love you.